Now let's look at example number 10. Example number 10, this is for the case unequal variances. So how we know that? Of course, we need to read the question. So let's read the questions. Given here, 11 bundles of wool fiber, sample mean, this value, and sample standard deviation 11.9. Another 12 bundles. For this one, I'm going to use another color. Another 12 bundles. This one is for synthetic. Have sample mean with this value and sample standard deviation of this value. Another important information given here is unequal variances. For this case, we don't have to conduct a living test since the question already mentioned it is unequal variances. So that's why we don't have to do hypothesis testing for equality of variances. We don't have to do the living test because it is already stated that unequal variances. Test at 5%. So this is the alpha, 0.05, whether the mean breaking strength for wool is less than synthetic. Okay, so how to answer this one? Of course, we need to do some label first. Okay, let's do some label. For this one, I'm going to use one is for wool fibers and number 2 is for synthetic. Then I will extract all the information given in the question. Sample size for wool is 11. Sample size for synthetic is 12. And then sample mean, X bar for wool is 436.5. And sample mean for synthetic is 452.8. Given also here, sample standard deviation. So S1 for wool is 11.9 and sample standard deviation for synthetic is 3.61. And alpha given here, the alpha is 0.05. So for this question, it asks you to test at 5% level of significance whether we want to know whether the mean breaking strength for wool fiber is less than the synthetic fibers. So, of course, we're going to do the hypothesis testing procedure. The first step is by stating the hypothesis itself. So, hypothesis, you're going to start with null and alternative hypothesis here. For null hypothesis, so mu1 minus mu2 is equal to 0. Like I mentioned you earlier, the null hypothesis will be always equal to 0, except for the one sample mean. This is two population means. If two population means, then it is equal to 0. Only for one sample mean, it has the value. The value is given. So for the alternative, mu1 minus mu2 less than 0. How we know the less than symbol? Because of this keyword, less than. So that's why here you use less than symbol. This is the first step. So we done the first step. Next, we go to the second step. Since there is no SPSS output is given here, of course, we cannot use p-value method. Hence, we need to use the test statistic approach method. Second step is test statistic. This one is first step, hypothesis. Second step is test statistic. For this one, you need to calculate the test statistic. Since it is already mentioned that it is unequal variances, and then you should use this formula. We're going to use this formula, unequal. Why? Because the question already stated or mentioned that unequal variances. So this is the value, so this is the formula for test statistic. This one. So we're going to use this formula. So this is the formula. Now substitute the value into the formula. And then your test statistic P, you will get negative 4.3627. Done. Now we go to the third step, whereby you need to find the critical value. CV. For this one, you need to find the, you need to know that your alternative hypothesis is one tail. This is one tail test. How you know that this is one tail? Less than. So less than or greater than, this one is for one tail. If it is unequal symbol, this one represent the two tail. If it is one tail, so you don't have to divide your alpha by 2 if you want to find the critical value. So T alpha 0.05 with a degree of freedom, right? For this one, you need to find the degree of freedom. How to find the degree of freedom? For this one, you need to use this value. This formula. So this formula is to find the degree of freedom. To find degree of freedom, you need to use this formula. So take this formula. So this formula, please substitute all the information, the value into the formula. Substitute. So by using the scientific calculator, you will get 11.6827. For this one, your DF will be equal to 11. Use 11 to find in your statistical table. So your critical value is T 0. Since this is a left tail, so you need to put minus here, negative here, okay? Because it is left tail. Remember, left, you need to put negative here. So negative T 0.05 with a degree of freedom 11, and then you go to your statistical table here, 0.05 with 11, you will get negative 1.796. So negative 1.796. So this is your critical value. The next one, you will proceed to decision. For this one, I will do in here since I have no more space. So I will do here, proceed with the decision. This is the step number 4, decision. Always remember to begin your answer with rule. Rule here, you can only reject null hypothesis if and only if your test statistic is less than negative CV, then you may reject your null hypothesis. This is the rule, how you want to reject the null hypothesis. So now you can write the decision is since, okay, please restate your test statistic that you got just now, negative 4.3627 is literally less than negative 1.796. So what you have to do, you need to reject your null hypothesis. That is your decision. And then the last step is the conclusion. Therefore, your conclusion is we can conclude that the mean breaking strength for wool fiber is less than synthetic fibers. Why? Because we reject null hypothesis. You can proceed to example number 11.